Good morning. Welcome to Reading the Science of Mind, a Philosophy of Faith, a Way of Life in 1 year. I'm Reverend Rafe Ellis, Senior Minister and Spiritual Leader at Center for Spiritual Living Common Ground in Central Maryland. Today is January 7th. And this morning's reading is lengthy, and so I will offer my perspective and commentary as we go, so that it's in context. And I invite you to do the same in whatever chat function is available to you. And I will circle back and address those at some point so that we create an ongoing dialogue for our greater learning together. Okay, here we go. Let me change that background so it's a little easier to see. There we go. So this morning we're reading from page 29, paragraph 3, through page 34, paragraph 3. Limitless power at our disposal. Marvelous as the concept may be, it is none the less true that we have at our disposal in what we call our subjective mind a power that seems to be limitless. This is because we are one with the whole on the subjective side of life. Our thought, falling into our subjective mind, merges with the universal subjective mind and becomes the law of our life through the one great law of life. Now, I read that to understand that subjective mind is another name for law in the creative process, that aspect, that doing aspect of mind. Mind overarching being consciousness itself. So that's how I read that. There are not two subjective minds, but there is one subjective mind, and what we call our subjective mind is really the use we are making of one law. Each individual maintains their identity in law through their personal use of it. And each is drawing from life what they think into it. To learn how to think is to learn how to live, for our thoughts go into a medium that is infinite in its ability to do and to be. We, by thinking, can bring into our experience whatever we desire, if we think correctly, and become a living embodiment of our thoughts. This is not done by holding thoughts, but by knowing the truth. Within us, then, there is a creative field, which we call the subjective mind. Around us, there is a creative field, which we call subjective. One is universal, and the other individual. But in reality, they're just one. There is one mental law in the universe, and where we use it, it becomes our law because we have individualized it. It is impossible to plumb the depths of the individual mind because the individual mind is really not individual, but individualized. Behind the individual is the universal, which has no limits. In this concept alone lies the possibility of eternal and endless expansion. Everyone is universal on the subjective side of life, and individual only at the point of conscious perception. The riddle is solved, and we all use the creative power of the universal mind every time we use our own mind. So I think yesterday I spoke about how language, right, can be a barrier. Because as I learned from Don Miguel Ruiz in the introduction and first chapter of the Four Agreements, every word we speak is an agreement of meaning. And so what we're being offered here is, in order to think correctly, for lack of a better word, in alignment with, we have to task ourselves with really being present and intentional with the words we use to understand the meaning that they're holding for us. And I don't mean just the dictionary meaning, because when there are hundreds of different definitions for a word, which one are we actually talking about? That's what's pivotal here, is what are we believing in the moment? What are we thinking in the moment? And sometimes most of our thought is outside of our awareness. It's conditioned thinking that is so deep we're no longer even aware of what we're thinking. But life reflects that back to us, making it available for us to know. So let's move on and see what it says about that. All thought is creative. Since this is true, it follows that we cannot say that one thought is creative while another is not. We must say that all thought is creative according to the nature, impulse, emotion, and conviction behind the thought. Thought creates a mold in the subjective in which the idea is accepted and poured, and sets power in motion in accordance with the thought. This is key. Ignorance of this excuses no one from its effects. For we are dealing with law and not with whimsical fancy. The conscious mind is superior to the subjective and may consciously use it. Great as the subconscious is, its tendency is set in motion by conscious thought. And in this possibility lies the path to freedom. The karmic law is not kismet. It is not fate, but cause and effect. It is a taskmaster to the unwise, a servant to the wise. So that's that part I was talking about, that whatever we think into it is reflected back to us. So rather than denying that I didn't create this, I didn't think this, what this is offering us is to be undefended and simply go, oh wow, didn't have any idea this is what I was thinking, but here it is. So now what? Right? And this is where we begin to understand the power of choice that lies within us and our path to freedom. So let's continue. The road to freedom is not mysterious. Experience has taught us that the subjective tendency of this intelligent law of creative force may consciously be directed and definitely used. This is the great discovery of all time. There is no mystery here, but a profound fact and a demonstrable one. The road to freedom lies not through mysteries and occult performances, but through the intelligent use of nature's forces and laws. The law of mind is a natural law in the spiritual world. But what do we mean by the spiritual world? I'm so glad you asked. We mean the word of consciousness, conscious intelligence. Right? The subjective is the world of law, of a mechanical order in our lives. It is largely a reaction and effect away. It is never a person thought. It is never a person, though it often appears to act as thought, though it. Let me reread that. It is never a person, though it often appears to act as though it were one. It's a mechanical operation. Right here, many are completely misled, mistaking subjective impulses for actual personalities. This, however, is a field of investigation not fully to be considered here. That's just Ernest Holmes language for we'll talk about that later. The simplest way to state the proposition is to say that we have a conscious mind that operates within a subjective field which is creative. The conscious mind is spirit. The subjective mind is law. One is the complement of the other, and no real individuality could be expressed without a combination of both. No one has ever plumbed the depths of either the conscious or the subjective life. In both directions we reach out to infinity, and since we cannot encompass infinity, we shall always be expanding and always enlarging our capacity to know and to experience. We need not ask why these things are so. There can be no reason given as to why truth is true. We do not create laws or principles, but discover and make use of them. Let us accept this position relative to the laws of mind and spirit and see what we can do with them, rather than how we can contradict the inevitable. Our mind and spirit is our echo of the eternal thing itself. And the sooner we discover this fact, the sooner we shall be made free and happy. The universe is filled with spirit and filled with law. One reacts to the other. We are spirit and we are law. The law of our life reacts to our spiritual or material concepts and builds and rebuilds according to our beliefs and faith. Learning to trust will make us happy. All people seek some relationship to the universal mind, the oversoul, or the eternal spirit, which we call God. And life reveals itself to whoever is receptive to it. What we are living in a spiritual universe, which includes the material or physical universe, has been a conclusion of the deepest thinkers of every age. It's a consistent awareness that comes to us, right? That this spiritual universe must be one of pure intelligence and perfect life, dominated by love, by reason, and by the power to create, seems an inevitable conclusion. There is a power in the universe that honors our faith in it. There is a law in the universe which exacts the utmost farthing. We all wish to feel that the power behind everything is good, as well as creative, an eternal and changeless intelligence in which we live and move and have our being. Intuitively, we ask that everyone in their native state are some part or manifestation of this eternal principle, and that the entire problem of limitation, evil, suffering, and uncertainty is not God ordained, but is the result of ignorance. It has been written that the truth shall make you free, provided we know the truth. And we note that the evolution of humanity's consciousness brings with it the acquisition of new powers and higher possibilities. We find ourselves torn by confusion, by conflict, by affirmation and denial, by emotion congested by fear, congealed by pride. We are afraid of the universe in which we live, suspicious of people around us, uncertain of the salvation of our own souls. All these things negatively react and cause physical disorders. Nature seems to await our comprehension of her, and since she is governed by immutable law, the ignorance of which excuses no one from their effects, the bondage of humanity must be a result of our ignorance of the true nature of reality. The storehouse of nature may be filled with good, but this good is locked to the ignorant. The key to this door is held in the mind of intelligence, working in accordance with universal law. Through experience, we learn what is really good and satisfying, what is truly worthwhile. As our intelligence increases, our capacity to understand the subtle laws of nature grows. We will gradually be set free. As we learn the truth will automatically free us. When we learn to trust the universe, we shall be happy, prosperous, and well. We must learn to come under the divine government and accept the fact that nature's table is ever filled. Never was there a cosmic famine. The finite alone has wrought and suffered. The infinite lies stretched in smiling repose. God is always God. No matter what our emotional storm or what our objective situation may be, there is always a something hidden in the inner being that has never been violated. We may stumble, but always there is that eternal voice forever whispering within our ear. That thing which causes the eternal quest, that thing which forever sings and sings. That is that sense of that pulls us inward. I think we often experience it as divine discomfort, right? And that is that universal cause and effect. Right? What is being thought into law is being reflected back. And I think we have to recognize the subtlety of how duality can creep in, where what we're experiencing we tend to blame on someone else as if there are separations. Yes, there's an individualized use of consciousness, an individualized use of law, but in the truth of one wholeness, doesn't it belong to all of us? Right? And the beauty of that is the minute we recognize that and own that and embody that, we become empowered to truly be a part of the solution in the whole of life. So let's keep reading. Divine nature is in every person. This is the thing itself. Briefly, let us recapitulate. There is that within every individual which partakes of the nature of the universal wholeness, and, insofar as it operates, is God. That is the meaning of the word Emmanuel, the meaning of the word Christ. There is that within us which partakes of the nature of the divine being. And since it partakes of the nature of the divine being, we are divine. It reacts to us according to our belief in it. And it is an immutable law, subject to the use of the least among us, no respecter of persons. It cannot be bound. Our soul will never change or violate its own nature. Law will never violate its own nature. Wholeness will never be unwhole. One can never be separate. Right? That's what it's telling us. All the denying of it will never change it. All the affirming of it will never make it any more than it is. But since it is what it is and works in the way that it works, it appears to each through our own belief. It is done unto each of us as we believe. We will say then that in spirit we are one with God. But what of the great law of the universe? If we are really one with the whole, we must be one with the law of the whole, as well as one with the spirit of the whole. If we find something difficult to grasp, then we will never grasp it, because we shall always think of it as being incomprehensible. The mind which we discover within us is the mind that governs everything. This is the thing itself, and we shall recognize it. We should recognize its simplicity. Technology, not so simple. If we get stuck in our heads, this all gets very complicated. It's a circular thing that if we just stick with it, it comes back around to that. Oh, that's what we're talking about. There's one substance expressing in form, governed by the activity, by a lawful, predictable, mechanical activity of law. And that is operating in every expression of itself. It is a process of, it's a reciprocal process, right? And so whatever is thought into it is made manifest. We experience that. It reflects back to us what is being thought, and it informs our prayer work. It informs our spiritual healing. That's why we call it spiritual mind treatment. We are healing thoughts that are out of alignment with the truth of being. And as we do, we think truth of being, and truth of being is expressed. And that, beloveds, is a world that works for everyone. We are on the journey. We are the journey. And we got this as soon as we choose it. So I'm going to take us into our time of meditation and contemplation. I invite you to just be present with whatever you sense, whatever you think, whatever you feel, not trying to make something happen and not trying to prevent anything from happening. Just be present. And you'll know what to do with it. And so in this moment, in this precious, eternal, infinite moment of now, I recognize one power everywhere present, in, through, and as the very breath of life, the very substance of life, life itself, known by many, many names, God, the infinite, creation. I recognize it is far bigger, than any single name, far greater than any single concept, and that I am that informed. I recognize the I am that I am. And I recognize that what is true of me is true of all creation, that everything and everyone is this great, infinite, all-encompassing, everywhere present I am, expressing individualized diversity itself, creation in multiplicity, never separate from itself. And so I recognize that I can never be separate. Can't be separate from mind, from consciousness, from God. Can't be separated from myself, any life around me. That everywhere I look, everything I hear, see, feel, taste, touch, and everything that lives in the invisible, in the spaces that I cannot see and only feel, is this I am, individualizing in differences that are never separate. I claim and affirm a living, breathing, deepening, expanding awareness of this truth. I claim and affirm an embodiment of the truth of I am, so that it becomes the activity of this individualized life. I celebrate that the Word, the infinite, consciousness itself being moved in this thing we call word, that the word spoken is the word fulfilled. It can be no other way. I feel it. I know it. Because in the silence, I recognize home. I recognize the truth of being. And I recognize that it is done just as quickly as it is desired. The creative law, the doer in this process, instantly says yes. And using the infinite resources of consciousness itself, of the universe, whatever we call it, it just makes it happen. And so it is instantly available to experience. And so I do. And in order to fully experience it, I recognize the need to let go. To let go of all of the static in my brain that argues against it. To let go of all sense of limitation. To let go and to be. Ashe. Shalom. Aho. Amen. Amen. And so it is. Namaste. Thank you.